I like to make things from scratch whenever I can. So today I'm going to show you how to use a few ingredients to make a condensed cream of celery soup that you can use in all of your favorite recipes. Welcome to the Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. And today we're gonna make a really simple recipe. As you can see, I'm only using a few ingredients. We're gonna make a cream of celery soup. It's a condensed version so that you can then use this in all of your recipes that call for a condensed soup. I'm gonna use the Ninja Foodi Cold and Hot Blender because it's going to cook and blend all in one, so it makes it super easy. But if you don't have the Ninja Foodi Cold and Hot Blender, don't worry, you can still make it. Just do part of it stovetop, let it cool, and then blend it up in your blender and you will be good to go. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is add in the celery. I have 4 cups of celery that I just cut up into about 2.5 to 3 inch pieces. You don't have to make them too small in the blender, but I do cut them up into this size just to make it a little bit easier on the blender as we start to cook and blend. So I'm gonna go ahead and dump those in. And hopefully not dump them out like I did. Oh well. So 3 cups and 3/4 is gonna be just fine in this recipe since I dumped some of them out. No worries. Okay. Next thing is 1/2 of an onion that I, again, have just chunked up. You don't have to dice it up, but you do want to chunk it up. We're going to put that into the blender there. I have 4 garlic cloves. Now you could use 1 garlic clove, 2 garlic cloves, no garlic cloves. I mean, that is totally up to you. But I like the flavor of the garlic, and so that's what I like to use. Now, for the stock, I'm using some water and a paste. This is a vegetable base, they call it, but I call it a paste because it's really thick. And this is from Miners. This is such a great brand, okay? I absolutely love the flavor in this, but it is not low sodium. So if you wanted to make a condensed version of celery soup and you wanted to control the sodium a little bit more, then definitely look for some sort of a vegetable or possibly even a chicken low sodium paste or even powder, and then reconstitute it with 1 cup of water. However, keep this in mind. I'm using a tablespoon of this base to a cup of water. Ordinarily, if I was making a soup that I would just spoon and eat, I would never use this much to 1 cup of water. A tablespoon might go in 6 cups of water, but we're making a concentrate, so we want the flavors to be super concentrated. So when you choose what base you're going to use, don't just use 1 cup of a liquid vegetable stock. You will not have the flavor that you need in your concentrated cream of celery. It's not even really cream of celery because we're not going to use any dairy unless you wanted to add that later, but we're not going to use it for the concentrate. So I would definitely triple or quadruple the amount that you would normally mix up to concentrate, that you would put into water. So don't just use the liquid chicken stock or vegetable stock. Definitely get a paste or a base or a powder, okay? And then triple or quadruple the amount and put it into 1 cup of water. All right, so we're gonna put that in, and I'll go over that in the written post as well so that you definitely can read up, and I'll give you some examples, okay? All right, and then 1 cup of water. All right, so let's put the lid on the blender here. Turn it on, and we're gonna hit smooth soup. And that's all we need to do. The blender's gonna take care of everything else. It's gonna start to blend, it's gonna cook everything, and then towards the end of the 30-minute cycle, it will really do a fast blend and get it nice and pureed and smooth for us. So that's all we have to do for now. There we go. So it's all done. I'm going to take the lid off and I'm going to take a peek here and see the consistency that we have. If we needed to go and do an extract, which would be a really high super blend, we can do that if it needs to be a little bit smoother. But it looks pretty good to me. So I think we're good to go. Now, the thickness is probably a little bit thinner than what a condensed canned soup would be. I don't always worry about that. I will just put it in the refrigerator. Remember, as it cools down, it's definitely going to thicken up some. But if you wanted to thicken it up, there's a super easy way to do it. And you could do it a couple different ways. What I'm going to use is about a tablespoon of avocado oil and some xanthan gum. Or you could use some melted butter if you weren't worried about keeping it dairy-free. And I'm going to start off with about, I would say, 1 teaspoon to 1.5 teaspoons. It will get thick as it sits, so I would use less than more. The reason why you need to put the xanthan gum into an oil or some other kind of fat is because if you just poured it right in there, it would clump up and give you really clumpy soup, and we don't want that. So once you mix it with oil or butter, and I'm sure there's some other things that you can mix it with too, it'll become nice and smooth, and you can put it right into your soup. And then we'll just give it a quick blend. And it takes a few minutes to start to thicken everything. So just put this lid back on. And I'm just going to use the pulse button. All right, that looks good. I already saw it start to thicken, so that's awesome. All right, now I'm going to pour this out into a 4-cup container here. Measuring cup. And it makes just under 4 cups. So it looks like it's 3 3/4. It's exactly 32 ounces. So you can use that to determine, if you wanted to make a half of a batch, that's perfectly fine. Now you can let this cool and you can actually freeze it. So it's fine to go right into the freezer. You could put it into little ice cube trays, or you could, measure it out however you like and put it in the freezer. I'm gonna let it sit here for a minute just to thicken to the consistency that it will get in just a couple of minutes. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of dairy in there and make a little bit of a soup. So if you wanted to just eat cream of celery soup, you would wanna add some things to it. Some cream or another kind of alternative, almond milk, something like that to sort of dilute it some. You could probably even just get away with some water if that's all you wanted to use. That would be fine. The other thing I want to do real quick is just give it a tiny taste just for seasonings. Now, remember, if you taste it right now, it should taste a little bit salty and a little strong because it's a concentrate. That's really good. Wow. And it tastes just like celery. I mean, that's what I love about it. So it is awesome. It is incredible. I love making this. So let's let it sit for a few minutes and then I will turn it into a little bit of cream of celery soup. And you can see how that's thickened up nicely. So I'm just gonna mix in a little bit of cream, probably about a tablespoon or so. I mean, you could do this to your liking and mix it up. I bet a little pat of butter would be really good in here as well. All right, so there you go. Cream of celery soup, condensed cream of celery soup. It is so good. It is amazing. One thing I will say is if you're not going to use the Miner's base, you might need to adjust your seasonings a little bit. So feel free when you get to this point, if you feel like it needs a little bit more garlic, a little bit more salt, a little bit more pepper, anything you want, add it in there. Get it to where it tastes good to you and also a little on the strong side. So when you reconstitute it or use it in a recipe that has other ingredients, it brings that punch of flavor, okay? It doesn't have to be hard to make things from scratch. We used a few fresh ingredients today and whipped up a delicious cream of celery soup. That's a condensed version, so we can use it in all of our recipes. So before you grab that can next time, go to the produce aisle, grab the fresh ingredients, and make your own. Make it yours, make it delicious, and keep it real.